INEC declares Abiodun Oyebanji winner of Ekiti governorship poll. Federal Executive Council targets enhanced service in education, aviation, and transportation. Senate ponder provision of interest-free loans and grants to students. Hello and welcome to 24/7 in Review as we take another look at the big stories in the week. I am Joseph Oten. My guest is Joseph Ojime. He is a senior reporter with the Champions newspaper. Welcome to 24/7.
I'm glad to be here.
Again, political activities dominated the airwaves in the week in review as people of Ekiti State took to the poll to elect the next governor of the state. And indeed, Africa's largest television network, NTA, transmitted the exercise live from start to finish. This is the first election conducted by INEC since the new Electoral Act came on board.
And the candidates received the following votes. Abiodun Abayomi Oyebanji of APC scored a total of 187,057 votes. Abiodun Abayomi Oyebanji of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared winner and is returned elected. Signed by the returning officer. Dated 19th day of June 2022.
And before the election started, the 16 participating political parties and their candidates expressed commitment to peaceful election. They signed a peace accord in Ado Ekiti ahead of the election.
We are exploring the possibilities of strengthening this accord so that those who sign it appreciate the weight, the consequences of their breaches.
We are also informed that 19,000 police personnel were deployed to Ekiti State to maintain law and order.
The police has carried out threat analysis, which we have continued to update from time to time to ensure adequate and proper deployment of personnel and logistics.
Indeed, so much politicking, so much to talk about. In as much as there was a massive voter turnout, we could also record buying and selling of votes, and which was predominant in almost all the polling units. A lot of reports were made concerning the buying and selling of votes. But briefly, let's talk about the buyer and the seller when it comes to the votes. Because the ballot is for free. And the candidate who is campaigning for the ballots, actually, you must have had his blueprint. He had his manifesto. He had his plan, his ideology, which he wants to sell to the electorate. And so he does not need to add money to this blueprint. And when the electorate had allowed the candidates to buy their votes, they do not, what they fail to understand is they do not sell only the votes. They equally sell their conscience to the candidates.
We also had a report where people rejected money to cast their votes.
That, yes, we're coming to that. We're coming to that. Now, this woman in the story was said to have sold her votes, and when maybe at the end, when the child took ill, and in the hospital there were no drugs, there were nothing whatsoever to attend to the child, and she came back to her conscience that she has sold her vote. So she had no right to ask whosoever it is in power to equip the hospital, because the money that should have been used to equip the hospital had been used to buy your votes. So in as much as I bought your vote, I bought your conscience. And at the same time, we also witnessed a situation whereby good citizens, I call them good citizens because they are people who knew what they were out for. They were out for good candidates, were out for competent candidates, and so they refused to sell their votes. They rejected the offer. And in fact, I think Nigerians should applaud this kind of citizens who are, really out for what theirs is, the quest for good governance. And that is what will take us as Nigerians out of the doldrums.
Okay. Generally, the reports that were checking in said that the election was conducted peacefully. Okay.
Very well, yes. Okay. Yeah, of course, in as much as it was very peaceful, there was a large voter turnout and it was very generally peaceful. Of course, there was no record of violence, killing anywhere. The police conducted themselves. I believe there was a rule of engagement. They adhered to the rules of engagement, and I believe that through that way, we're able to have what we have today. I congratulate the winner. I also believe that whoever is aggrieved has only one, thing to do, and that is to take to litigation, whichever way it is. I believe too that we are with the deployment of the new electoral law, we are heading to some credible elections sometime.
All right. More on politics. Presidential candidates had up to 17th of June 2020 to pick up their running mates and submit to INEC. Indeed, some names emerged, with PDP presidential standard bearer Atiku Abubakar announcing the governor of Delta State, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, as his running mate.
I accept wholeheartedly, and in accepting so, I want to pledge that I'm going to stay loyal and committed to the course of this battle.
APC Bola Tinubu submitted the name of former National Welfare Secretary of the party, Ibrahim Masare, while Doyin Okupe was named as Labour Party Presidential Vice President. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the Progressives Governors Forum in furtherance of strategic engagement with critical stakeholders towards ensuring that the governing party retain power for sustainable development in the country.
Very well. We're still on politics, and I believe, of course, this is a season for it. We have had the all-cycle elections, and of course, there are more to come. And with the running mate saga, actually, this is the first time Nigeria is witnessing this kind of dilemma with regards to the choice of running mates, and more so because the religious angle have been unfortunately introduced into the matter rather than competence. And you get a situation where Asiwaju, who is a candidate of APC now, and there are clamors here and there to, of course, to select, of course, for a Muslim ticket, that is Muslim running mate from the north. Reasons given about the northern Muslim population. But I think the advocates of this kind of arrangement should have rather looked the way of competence, because competence is what will deliver good governance. Competence is the only thing that can give us dividends of democracy. And competence in office is what we Nigerians, having suffered so much misgovernance, having suffered so much setback, so much backwardness, so much retrogression, we are supposed to actually look the way of competence.
We have another dynamics in Kebbi State. We heard that there was mass defection as two-time governor of Kebbi State and senator representing Kebbi Central at the National Assembly, Muhammad Adamu Alero, and others defected to the PDP, a development many believed will be vital in the upcoming 2023 general election.
We felt that the party doesn't need us. The only way out is for us to move out and go to where we are needed.
Just give us your take on that.
Yeah, when you see politicians, defecting from one political party to another, sometimes indiscriminately, they may have their reasons. But the underlying factor is this lack of ideology. A politician should stick to a particular political party, whether he seems to be on the winning side or on the losing side, as the case might be. What should hold him back to his political party is the party's ideology. Do our politicians have ideology? Do they have, what the party stands for? Or is it that when it doesn't go well with them, then the best thing is to shift to another, to change, to defect to another political party, which may, according to them, bring them the victory? These are some of the things we should actually question our politicians.
Okay, now away from politics, the Federal Executive Council has approved 100 billion naira for the provision of critical infrastructure for enhanced service in education, aviation, and road transportation sector of the nation's economy. Also, Council approved the enactment of Federal Fire and Rescue Service Establishment Act 2022.
91.94 kilometer Kashimbila Takum Chachangi Road in Taraba State in the sum of 66.983 billion naira.
Provide each senatorial district in the country satellite-based education system for about 4,360 users. The Ministry of Aviation also sought and obtained approval for the award of contract for the procurement and installation of airfield lighting instrument landing system.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved an upward review in forex rates for transporters to alleviate the challenges associated with the distribution of premium motor spirit (PMS) nationwide. The approval was after due consultation with stakeholders at the instance of the Nigerian Mainstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. This is said to be necessitated by the upswing in global price of petroleum products, especially diesel, and its implication on the cost of transporting PMS nationwide. Still talking business, to ensure increase in revenue mobilization through tax collection, we were told the Federal Inland Revenue Service is strengthening collaboration with the United Kingdom's Revenue and Custom team.
Yes. Looking at our data, transfer pricing, country-by-country reporting and extractives, and those seem to me very, very good areas which are in our mutual interest.
From the intelligence that we have exchanged, we've been making in millions of US dollars in tax revenue. I cannot say on a weekly basis, but I think it has been on a monthly basis for some few months now.
Let's talk some business.
Yeah, when a lot of funds are, kind of pumped into infrastructural development, we commend our government, as a matter of fact, because of infrastructural deficiency we've had in Nigeria. But one important aspect we should also look towards the funding of education. Our education sector has suffered a very serious has suffered setback. The setback in the sense that we've had several months of ASU strike, colleges of education staff on strike, NASU, SANU, polytechnic lecturers also. We actually have to, what does that tell you? It tells you that while we are funding infrastructure, we're equally, kind of at the same time trying to neglect this very important sector of education. And then on PMS, I also want to say kudos to the government for the latest developments. I believe that will take cues of the filling stations and as well as, enhance the sales of petroleum and premium motor spirits, and also help, finance that particular aspect of the economy.
All right, now in the working review, the National Assembly resumed legislative work after it came back from recess. The Senate is working to usher in a new regime for education financing in Nigeria. This is expected to be achieved through the repeal of Nigerian Education Bank Act. The scheme, when established, is to provide free interest loans and grants to students.
Granting or interest-free loans and bursaries to eligible students at higher institutions.
There's no nation that is developed that does not have financial education scheme.
For us to plan education in such a way that students offer courses with potential for them to be able to get jobs, so that when these schemes comes on board, it will be possible for such students to be able to pay.
Second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education and Third Fund for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has mandated the Committee on Army to engage the authorities of the Nigerian Army for the purpose of ascertaining the total number of recruited and trained personnel from 2017 to 2021. This is in response to a motion from Representative Sergio Ogun, who pointed out that the challenge of insecurity has overstretched the armed forces.
In a bid to boost its military strength, the Nigerian Army has, in the past 5 years or more, conducted a series of recruitment exercises for persons desiring to be enlisted into the Nigerian Army.
Even the facilities in the depot cannot handle beyond 5,000. We had even the cost. We spoke to the army. Now why can't we even decentralize the recruitment exercise?
We should go further, including the police, the military, the SS. We need more personnel.
We need an update from the last recruitment. We need to update the numbers. I think this is very, very clear.
More on security, the Nigerian Army is to review its rules of engagement and code of conduct during security operations. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, gave the order at the 2022 second quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference in Abuja.
As we look forward to conduct a holistic appraisal of our engagements in the first half of the year and develop strategies to consolidate on our achievements in the months ahead, particularly in the provision of security support to facilitate the peaceful conduct of electioneering activities for the 2023 general election.
It is also reported that a mother of 3 who was among the kidnapped Abuja-Kaduna train attack regained freedom from her kidnappers. She is now reunited with her family.
We're happy, at least we were able to get some information on the condition of the remaining 50, including my brother. And at the same time, she is back. She's with her children. You know, that is the main pillar. She's the pillar of the house.
I've been in a very bad mood for almost 3 months now, especially with our old parents that are alive. I think you've seen our dad of 90-something years, so it was not easy coping with it and the small children they left behind.
We look forward to a day when Nigerians will sleep with their 2 eyes closed. And I believe too that government has told us you're not sleeping with regards to insecurity. And the right thing to do, especially in the security aspect, is to ensure that there is this massive recruitment of security forces in the police, in the military, and whichever way that, you know, can help to curb the menace of insecurity. Because most times you get reports that there is this shortage of manpower in the military, shortage of manpower in the police force, and then you begin to wonder if the teeming youths that are roaming the streets don't want to be recruited. Is it not part of government policy to ensure that these ones are taken off the streets and engaged in the military and the police force? And especially because we have this menace of insecurity at the moment, to be able to curb that hydra-headed issue in the nation, that we've discussed this insecurity for too long. We've had so much of bloodshed, killings. We've had so much massive ethnic cleansings. We have pogroms. We had so much marauding herdsmen, you know, killing, fighting farmers, and back and forth of security issues. The only way out is the willpower, the policy of recruitment, so that this youth will be taken off streets and engaged. And of course, you know, taken to engage some of these hoodlums. So I think the political will should actually be, you know, directed towards this particular aspect of insecurity, and that, of course, will go a long way to giving us the peace we deserve.
All right, let's pause for a break. Do stay with us.
The thing, according to her, is to protect the image and encourage the whistleblower.
I think other states should be able to learn fast from that.
Under this government, we've seen that the Ogoni cleanup is going to come on.
Okay, thanks for staying with us as we take another look at the big stories in the week. Now, let's take some stories from the judiciary. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has convicted and sentenced 2 co-defendants in the suit filed by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency against suspended DSP Abakari over alleged drug deal to 2 years imprisonment. The presiding judge, Justice Emeka Nwete, in a judgment said, having admitted to have committed the offense brought up against them in count 5, 6, and 7, Chibuna Nwebe and Emeka Ezenwa are hereby convicted accordingly. Justice Nwete thereafter sentenced them to 2 years imprisonment in each of the counts. Graduating cadets of the Nigerian Police Academy Kano are challenged to raise the bar of excellence in policing the complex Nigerian society as today's landscape extends beyond land, sea, and air into the vast territories of cyberspace. President Muhammadu Buhari, who drew the challenge at the passing out parade of the 4th regular course of the Nigerian Police Academy, Kano said, all acts of crime and criminalities must be dealt with decisively.
Many of the enemies you will confront will be permanently faceless or concealed, leveraging technology to wage warfare that has the potential to be even more destructive than anything the world has ever known. We must focus on prevention of cyber attacks against critical national infrastructure.
The power sector is one area that is most favored by the Federal Executive Council in terms of express approvals to improve the level of electricity supply. Despite this special consideration, grid collapse and near absence of electricity for hours or days has become common experience. Citizens express concern over what is going wrong with the power value chain.
People are only interested in revenue targets and not services. This is at variance with the good intention of Mr. President, and so the President should order immediate review of privatization. That is what we want.
We have struck up a new formula to balance such that as we supply to the areas that yield high revenue, we also supply a fair level out of the little we've got. I keep adding to the areas where we think the revenue may not be so high.
On the global scene, NATO says Ukraine needs more heavy weapons as Russia intensifies attacks. The United States announced $1 billion military aid to Ukraine as essential supply runs out for thousands of civilians. Congolese accused Rwanda of supporting M23 rebel attacking their country. Let's respond to this.
Yeah, we're looking at the crime rate. You see, the crime rate in society, we cannot completely exercise society or separate society from crime. Crime, of course, is an integral part of society. But we're looking at this aspect that crime rate will be drastically reduced if the criminals, the law is always taking its course. The criminals are brought to book, definitely we will have a drastic reduction in crime. And drug, of course, we've come to know that drugs aid crime. And so the NDLA doing a very good job. Of course, the bravo to NDLA. And I believe more of this in the coming days.
Okay, Joseph Ojume is a senior reporter with Champions Newspapers. Thank you for being on 24/7 in Review.
I'm glad.
That's 24/7 in Review. Thank you for your time. See you next time.